It was supposed to be a clear and beautiful day at Utah Valley University. Thousands had gathered, waving flags, recording on their phones, waiting for Charlie Kirk to speak. He stood tall on stage, his voice steady, commanding attention as he spoke about freedom, power, and faith. To his supporters, it felt like history in the making, but within seconds, that moment of pride turned into a scene of pure chaos. A gunshot echoed through the air, slicing through the cheers. The crowd froze, then panic erupted. People screamed, phones dropped, and security rushed the stage. What had started as a celebration of strength became a national tragedy broadcast live. For the world to see, no one really knew what had happened. The authorities released statements. The media filled in the blanks, but nothing seemed to make sense. The more they tried to explain, the more questions appeared. How could someone with no training or experience end up on a rooftop with a clear line of sight and go unnoticed? Who allowed it, and why? For many, it felt less like an accident and more like something staged, a performance with a script to polish to be real. At the center of it all was Erica Kirk, Charlie's wife. She appeared calm, graceful, and composed. Some said, when she finally faced the cameras, her words were measured, her tears almost perfect, her tone controlled. She thanked the first responders, spoke of her husband's legacy, and vowed that his mission would live on. To some, it was the picture of dignity and grief. To others, it looked rehearsed, like a performance too polished to be authentic. Every gesture, every blink, every sigh became a frame-by-frame analysis online. Was it strength or a mask? And then came Candace Owens. Strong, unapologetic, and relentless. She wasn't satisfied with silence. She wasn't interested in polite tributes. She wanted answers. Within hours, she took to her podcast, her voice sharp with emotion, her words echoing across every platform. She said what no one else dared to say, that something about this story didn't add up. She questioned the investigation, the narrative, and even those closest to Charlie. Her tone wasn't just suspicious, it was personal. She called out the inconsistencies, the missing witnesses, the unclear evidence, and the speed at which officials tried to close the case. Her voice became the voice of defiance. While Erica stood as the image of control, Candace became the embodiment of outrage. She implied that Charlie had been betrayed not by an enemy, but by someone he trusted. The internet caught fire. People took sides. On one end, Erica's composure was called strength. On the other, it was called deceit. The nation split overnight between elegance and anger, silence and exposure, grace and fury. Candace had always been controversial, but this time, her determination bordered on obsession. She called the official story a cover-up, the suspect a scapegoat, and hinted that powerful figures were pulling strings behind the scenes. Her followers believed her without hesitation. Each podcast episode drew millions of listeners, her voice trembling with both rage and grief as she demanded to know who really wanted Charlie gone. And with every accusation she made, new names entered the storm: billionaires, media moguls, even world leaders. Meanwhile, Erica stayed silent. She appeared at memorials, dressed in black, standing tall beside her children, saying all the right words with all the right expressions. The crowd applauded her strength, but for Candace's followers, that silence was not grace, it was guilt. The idea that someone could remain that calm after such a tragedy became, in itself, suspicious. Every smile she gave was dissected, every pause was analyzed, every tear was timed. Online detectives turned grief into investigation, but beneath the public spectacle, something else was happening. The conservative world that Charlie Kirk had helped shape began to fracture. Figures like Tucker Carlson, Glenn Beck, and Vivek Ramaswamy all spoke at tributes, promising to continue Charlie's legacy, but the tributes quickly turned into competitions. Each one tried to outshine the other, to sound bolder, louder, more loyal. What was supposed to be a memorial became a contest of influence. The movement that once stood united began to tear itself apart. Candace, now at the center of the storm, only grew louder. She accused the FBI and Utah police of fabricating evidence, claimed that Tyler Robinson, the alleged shooter, was nothing but a pawn. Then she went further, suggesting that billionaire Bill Ammon had threatened Charlie before his death. Screenshots and texts were released, refuted, and re-released, with every denial somehow making the accusations stronger. Even Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was forced to respond to bizarre rumors about involvement, which only made the conspiracy grow wilder. Inside the Kirk family, things weren't any calmer. Some relatives defended Erica fiercely, saying she was doing her best to protect her children. Others whispered doubts, admitting that Candace's words had planted seeds of uncertainty. That whisper grew into a murmur, and the murmur became a full-blown online debate. Every family photo, every public appearance, every quiet smile was turned into proof of something sinister. Erica could do nothing without it being weaponized against her. Candace, on the other hand, thrived in the chaos. Each new podcast added fire to the storm. Her voice quivered with passion one moment and roared with fury the next. She claimed the conclusion of the investigation was pre-planned, that the truth was being buried under layers of lies. To her fans, she wasn't just a commentator anymore, she was a crusader for truth. Fighting the machine that had silenced her friend, the divide deepened. Online forums, podcasts, and social media became battlegrounds. Some defended Erica's composure as the last trace of grace in a world gone mad. Others swore she was hiding something. Glenn Beck called for unity. Joe Rogan questioned the FBI's narrative, and small podcasters turned every rumor into clickbait. Truth and fiction began to blur, until no one knew what to believe anymore. Erica continued to appear at events calm, polished, silent. But silence was no longer seen as dignity. It was seen as defiance. If she cried, it was called fake. If she didn't, it was called heartless. The public wanted pain they could believe in, not composure they couldn't understand. Candace, meanwhile, used that same public hunger to fuel her movement. She promised her listeners she would not rest until the truth was exposed. Until every hidden hand was named out. The story spiraled beyond anyone's control. What began as a single tragedy became a web of accusations, politics, and betrayal. The conservative movement splintered into factions, each claiming to carry Charlie's legacy while quietly fighting for power. Behind closed doors, families fractured, friendships ended, and careers were built on the ruins of a man's death. The legacy that once united people had become a battleground where loyalty and truth were traded like currency. And still, even months later, the world can't stop talking about it. Every week, new sources appear, new footage is leaked, and new theories emerge. Some claim a hidden call between Charlie and a top political donor hours before the rally reveals everything. Others insist that Candace herself was manipulated into spreading chaos to divide the movement. The media plays both sides, fueling speculation while pretending to seek truth. Behind the noise, one undeniable reality remains. A man is gone, and his legacy has become a battlefield. The truth, whatever it is, has been buried beneath headlines, algorithms, and the hunger for scandal. And as time passes, the story only grows darker, twisting into something almost unrecognizable. Private investigators claim to have found missing footage that contradicts the official timeline. A former security guard has allegedly vanished after agreeing to speak out. Candace insists that powerful people are working behind the scenes to erase evidence and silence anyone who asks too many questions. Meanwhile, Erica retreats further from the public eye. Her silence now haunting, fueling endless speculation about what she might know but refuses to say. Online communities analyze her every appearance like detectives, while political commentators turn grief into strategy. What began as one woman's pain has become a spectacle of accusation and suspicion. The truth seems further away than ever, blurred by emotion, media spin, and ambition. Yet deep down, everyone watching feels that something about this story still doesn't add up, and the final truth hasn't been told. Perhaps Candace Owens is right, and the real scandal isn't the event itself, but how quickly the powerful tried to close the chapter. Or perhaps Erica Kirk is right, and silence is the only dignity left in a world that devours pain for entertainment. Either way, the story isn't over. It's still being written by the politicians, the media, and the millions watching, wondering which version of the truth will survive. Because one thing is certain, in this world, no secret lasts forever. And the deeper you dig into this story, the more it feels like we're not uncovering the truth, we're peeling back layers of performance, power, and pain. What's left underneath may not be justice or closure, but a reminder of how easily truth can be rewritten in real time by whoever holds the microphone.